Breaking today, shocking new details have emerged about why George and Amal Clooney ditched Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And what's most interesting is that this is the end of the celebrity friendship that really impacted Prince Harry. He thought he was going to be boys with Clooney for life. And then the couple ditched him for the real royals after a friendship which had actually got remarkably close, even though they had, quite wisely, I would say, from the Clooneys side of things, never been pictured publicly with Harry and Meghan. Yes, there they were turning up at the wedding. Quite rightly, they never got that public picture. This reporting from Aaron Tinney, the UK-based long-time tabloid journalist for Radar Online, who has revealed in intimate detail that the snub left Prince Harry reeling with embarrassment. So we're going to get into the details of this story with royal YouTube sensation according to Taz imminently. But first, I want to take you through this fascinating new detail from Aaron Tinney, who writes, Prince Harry is said to have been left humiliated by the collapse of his friendship with George Clooney, with insiders telling Radar Online the Duke of Sussex feels painfully frozen out by one of the world's most influential celebrity couples. He says that there has even been years, by the way. This is what's so mortifying of Harry trying to rebuild contact because he believed George and Amal would become part of their inner circle. So you go back to the wedding, which Tinney reports shows that the appearance seemed at the time to reinforce the Sussexes' growing status as transatlantic celebrity power players. But, he writes, in the years following the pair's Megxit and the Mooney couple's move to California in 2020, many of those friendships reportedly faded. But insiders claimed Harry had taken the apparent loss of Clooney's friendship harder than almost any other. An insider telling the publication of all the celebrity relationships that have quietly fizzled out since Harry and Meghan walked away from royal duties and reinvented themselves in California, this is unquestionably the one that has hit Harry hardest on a personal level and left him reeling with embarrassment that it's over. He truly believed George and Amal would become part of their inner circle for decades to come. In Harry's mind, they were not just famous acquaintances from the wedding guest list. He saw them as powerful friends who understood the pressures of global scrutiny, philanthropy, and public life in a way very few people could. Indeed, he thought there was a special bond between the couples, with the source adding, Harry was convinced they were building something meaningful together as two internationally recognized couples with similar values, political leanings, and ambitions to use their platforms for humanitarian causes. That is why the apparent distancing from George has been so bruising for him emotionally. He cannot understand how things went from private holidays, warm public praise, and regular contact to what feels like total silence. The fact there has never been a confrontation or proper explanation has left Harry feeling embarrassed, rejected, and deeply confused about where their bromance went wrong.
Once upon a time, they were among the most powerful couples in the world. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, George and Amal Clooney, royalty and Hollywood elite. But now, according to explosive new claims, that high-profile friendship may have completely fallen apart. Reports and speculation are fueling accusations that Harry and Meghan have been quietly sidelined by one of the world's most influential celebrity couples. And critics say the alleged rejection couldn't come at a worse time. So what really happened? And why are royal watchers suddenly talking about embarrassment, isolation, and fading influence? Stay tuned, because this story is raising serious questions about Harry and Meghan's place in Hollywood. When Harry and Meghan married in 2018, the wedding wasn't just a royal event. It was a global celebrity spectacle. Among the famous guests were some of the biggest names in entertainment, politics, and business. One of the most notable couples in attendance was George Clooney and Amal Clooney. At the time, their presence was viewed as a symbol of Harry and Meghan's extraordinary influence. The Sussexes appeared to have the best of both worlds: royal status and Hollywood connections. But years later, many observers believe that picture has changed dramatically. The latest controversy stems from growing speculation that relations between the Sussexes and the Clooneys are no longer what they once were. According to critics, public interactions between the couples have become increasingly rare. Joint appearances are virtually non-existent. Public support appears less visible. and the absence of any obvious connection has sparked endless questions. Some commentators now claim Harry and Meghan have been effectively ghosted by influential figures who were once seen as close allies.
Oh, I could tell him. I could tell him. You just sit me down with Harry and I could tell him. The Sussexes and Clooneys initially appeared inseparable after the royal wedding. Just months later, George and human rights lawyer Amal hosted Harry and Markle at their villa on Italy's Lake Como. And at that point, you know they're in. They're in when they get the Como villa invite. At the time, sources close to the actor insisted the two couples had formed a special bond. And yes, that briefing was from Clooney's side. Then you'll also remember Clooney publicly defended Markle. That was in 2019, when pregnant with Archie, accusing parts of the media of villainising her and comparing the treatment she received to the press harassment suffered by Princess Diana. But by 2023, cracks reportedly began to emerge. The Clooneys attended the King's Trust Awards in support of King Charles III, just months after the release of Harry's explosive memoir, Spare, while reports later surfaced claiming the Sussexes had been dropped from the guest list for the Hollywood power couple's Albie Awards. Another insider claimed attempts by Harry and Markle to reconnect have largely failed. Harry and Meghan have made several attempts over the past couple of years to reconnect with George and Amal, sometimes together and sometimes individually, but the response has been consistently lukewarm. Messages can sit unanswered for long periods, and when communication does happen, it is usually very polite but non-committal. There is always a scheduling issue, another engagement, or some reason why meeting up never quite materialised. Now, I love that. Can I just say I love that? And I'm no fan of the Clooneys, okay, who are awful woke lefties. I am no fan. I'm just being honest. Like the guy in ER, that's where it ends. However, I do love the fact that it is the Clooneys that are now delivering Harry and Meghan a taste of their own medicine. They're being ghosted. See how it feels? Not very nice, is it? But incredibly well deserved. And the Clooneys, actually, credit to them for never actually getting the public picture, which Harry and Meghan so desperately wanted. I am also told, by the way, the reason that this has hurt Harry so badly is because he really does connect Clooney with Princess Diana. You will remember in the days after Diana's death, Clooney really became the biggest international celebrity other than Tom Cruise to launch a lifelong campaign against the paparazzi. At the time, he was one of the most famous TV actors in the world. I want to bring in royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz now. I mean, this is so mortifying for Harry and Meghan because you can just imagine, Tash, they are really the ones that tend to ghost people. So the fact that they are now being ghosted is really interesting to me because what the Clooneys have done here isn't have a big falling out. So there hasn't been a big bust up like the type of bust up there was with the Beckhams. The Clooneys are just shrewd operators and soon realised that Harry and Meghan were revolting grifters who were going to throw their own family under the bus, and they were desperate to get back in with the royal family, which worked, by the way, because Charles is all over them again. And so they just sort of quietly moved on. Oh yeah, we'll see you at some stage. You know, maybe we'll lend you our private jet again in 10 years' time. But it hasn't happened. And trust me, it will never happen.
Yeah, they've done it in such a way where they just completely cut them off. So it didn't allow any of these, tit for tat sort of celebrity arguments or, like people stir it up and they're like, oh, there's been a bit of a fallout. No, there was just absolutely nothing. And I think with Amal, there was the last time we saw her was when to do with the couple was when she did go to the baby shower over in New York. She apparently, I think, stumped up some money to go towards it alongside Serena. And there's one photograph when they were doing the floral arranging, and Amal is there next to Meghan, and Meghan just looks angry as she's flower arranging. It's Meghan. And it's funny that seems to have been the last time that they were ever seen together. We knew that they went to Lake Como as part of like their honeymoon afterwards, but I wonder if that was the final nail in the coffin, Meghan's behavior, which was ridiculous when she was over in New York, spending all of that money, the way that she behaved, the way she was treating people. And of course, that extremely huge bump that she had. And yeah, I don't know. There's definitely something that made George and Amal finally wake up. George was sympathetic when they left the royal family, but I believe that was George's loyalty to Diana as well, because he had always, like you said, he'd always been quite passionate about, the paparazzi and things like that. And perhaps that's why Harry thought, kindred spirit in him. But the fact that George defended her that one time. And then obviously when they continuously attacked the royal family, this wasn't the one interview that they said they were going to do when they appeared on Oprah. You know, they just turned around and said, I don't actually think he defended them after Oprah. I think he initially defended Meghan when they first started the story, saying that they still wanted to be part of the monarchy. They just wanted to live in Canada. They wanted a quiet life. And I think that's when George was like, oh yeah, oh bless them, you know, I'll defend them for a bit. But then it became more apparent that was just all a ruse. You know, it was just one big con job, a smash and grab job. Harry and Meghan grabbed the titles, grabbed the cash, and then obviously wanted to flog it all in America. So he's steered clear from them. But I do find it funny because pretty much all of the A-listers that didn't know Harry and Meghan that were at the wedding have nothing to do with Harry and Meghan now. And they do work with the royal family. They are close to the royal family. You've got the Beckhams, for example. You've got the Elbas, Idris Elba. You know, he was the DJ at Harry's wedding. And, you know, it seems to be, and to be fair, I reckon if the king offered her to come for tea, she'd jump on a plane. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I do believe that most of the people that were there, they were only there because they wanted proximity to the royal family. It was never about Harry and Meghan. So as soon as Harry and Meghan started burning those bridges, they'd already obviously just saw it as they're just grifters. They're a waste of time. We can't get anything from them. And then they went back to actually getting close to the royal family. I mean, at least Idris Elba and David Beckham, they actually do have their foundations themselves, especially Idris. He's working alongside the King's Foundation. But yeah, I do find it funny that all of those people that they invited that they didn't know to basically name drop. But yeah, now they have nothing to do with them. It seems that Harry and Meghan just burn bridges with absolutely everybody in the end.
Well, absolutely. And the thing is, even though I do think George and Amal Clooney use a lot of their humanitarian work to push their own celebrity and business interest and profile, even they realized that Harry and Meghan were such faux humanitarians that it was just going to be bad for their brand.
They're toxic. They're toxic. Everything about those two is completely toxic. They can't be ambassadors for child online safety, for being eco warriors. They can't. I mean, everything that Harry and Meghan have done since they left the royal family, they've shown themselves to be complete and utter hypocrites. I mean, Meghan just in Geneva, I mean, coming back from Geneva wanting to be taken seriously to do with child online safety, what does she do? She posts her daughter in her pajamas within 24 hours of her flying to Geneva to talk about child online safety. I mean, those two really are the masters of their own demise. They really, really are. And it is funny to watch this. It is funny to watch.
Well, she's moved on to another humanitarian now, Tash. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
It's Queen Esther who has done some brilliant work on this, posting Meghan Markle putting on the Angelina Jolie humanitarian face again. At this point, her public image feels like a collection of other women's identities. I thought this was a very good point, Tash. Princess Diana, Princess Catherine, Angelina Jolie, Emma Thin, the Marchioness of Bath. No one seems safe from becoming Meghan Markle's latest personality if they're famous or admired for something. What exactly is original? And I mean, some of those pictures, Tash, are just pretty damning, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are. She's got no personality of her own. She is a mimic. She is a mimic. This is how Meghan builds her relationships with people. This is how she duped Harry. She mimicked Diana. This is what Meghan does. I mean, I'm sure a psychologist could diagnose it a bit better than what I could. But I believe that when Meghan says, today, Matthew, I'm going to be a humanitarian, she flicks through and goes, right, this is going to be my Angelina Jolie outfit. And then the next day she's like, right, I'm going to be today a fashionista. I'm going to wear clothes and pose exactly like Posh Spice, Lady Beckham. You know, she is just a continuous stream of a dressing up box. She's constantly trying on other people's skin, as it were. And it's creepy, but then at the same time, it's become comical because we can see it. You can see it all of the time. She's never once really, I don't think, shown her own personality. She's always trying to mimic or to copy someone because she's got nothing original about her.
Interesting details has also emerged this week, Tash, about more of the fallout between Prince Harry Meghan Markle, Zara, and Mike Tyndall. And, you know, I was very much aware of their falling out post 2020. And so much of it was to do with the way that they were just disgusted with how Harry and Meghan had treated the late Queen. And there was that very famous scene on the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral when Mike just would not go anywhere near Harry. And I know for a fact he was absolutely disgusted. And they were both disgusted and horrified. But what's interesting is that this week, Tom Sykes of the Royalist podcast for the Daily Beast has revealed that the fallout actually went back to the wedding day, Tash. And it was because of the fact that Zara made that funny face during the very, very lengthy sermon. I mean, Tash, it just shows you how ludicrously sensitive they were, how they were looking for reasons to fall out with royals at the time.
I believe Meghan would have been fueling that one. I believe it would have been perfect for Meghan to turn Harry against yet another family member that she knows she's close with. Whilst there's lots of things that I do not blame Meghan for with Harry's behaviour and his decisions and his actions, she definitely manipulated him. So the first people that he fell out with had to be Catherine because she was a female influence in his life. He had obviously grown very, very close to her. He saw her as a sister. For Meghan, that was a threat. She needed to control him. So for seeing something like this pop up at the wedding, I believe she would have been, look at her face, I can't believe she did that, that's humiliating for us. She would have definitely been that bug in his ear, so then he would have said something. And the thing is, it was in the 20s that day. Meghan got a very, very lucky wedding day in May. It was hot sunshine. Zara was heavily pregnant. She was heavily pregnant and she had to sit there throughout all of that. Loads of the royals, lots of people were hot, they were stuffy. Of course, they were all dressed up in their, their beautiful outfits and stuff. She had a hat on and she was ready to pop. I think she gave birth not too long after that, I think, from memory. But Zara, I'm not surprised she was pulling faces, being stuck there listening to that. I mean, it was so ridiculous anyway, the type of sermon that was put on. But then that was Harry and Meghan's spectacle for the world anyway, which she later complained about. But yeah, I'm not surprised there were lots of people pulling faces. I remember watching a bit of it on the TV thinking, what? Where have they got this guy from?
Whether those claims are fair or not, the narrative has gained significant traction online. And once the story began spreading, royal commentators quickly seized upon it. For critics of Harry and Meghan, the alleged distance is part of a larger pattern. They argue that several high-profile relationships associated with the Sussexes have cooled over time. Celebrity friendships that once generated headlines now seem far less visible. Invitations appear less frequent. Public endorsements appear less common. And according to those critics, the trend raises difficult questions. Has Hollywood moved on? Has the Sussex brand lost some of its influence? Or are people simply reading too much into ordinary changes in social relationships? Because friendships evolve, lives become busy, and public appearances don't always reflect private realities. Yet in the world of celebrity culture, perception often matters more than facts. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Because this isn't really about George and Amal Clooney. It's about status. Since leaving royal duties, Harry and Meghan have worked hard to establish themselves as independent global figures. Their success depends heavily on public relevance, media attention, industry relationships, and cultural influence. That's why stories involving celebrity friendships attract so much attention. Because every perceived alliance strengthens public image, and every perceived rejection creates questions. For critics, rumors involving the Clooneys reinforce a narrative that Harry and Meghan are becoming increasingly isolated. Supporters strongly reject that view. They argue there is no evidence that a friendship has ended simply because it isn't constantly displayed in public. And that's what makes this story so divisive. Different audiences see completely different realities. What's fascinating is how much symbolic weight people place on celebrity relationships. A missing photograph becomes a headline. A lack of public appearances becomes a controversy. Silence becomes a story. In reality, Nobody outside the couples themselves truly knows the current state of their relationship. Yet that uncertainty creates a vacuum. And in celebrity culture, vacuums are quickly filled with speculation. Especially when the people involved are Harry and Meghan. Because few public figures generate stronger reactions than the Sussexes. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan continue facing intense scrutiny from both supporters and critics. Every project, every appearance, every friendship, every business move, everything becomes part of a larger narrative battle. For supporters, the couple remain influential global figures unfairly targeted by negative commentary. For critics, recent controversies suggest their cultural influence is declining. And stories like this one become evidence used by both sides. That's why even something as simple as a rumored celebrity snub can dominate headlines for days. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of this controversy is how quickly audiences accepted the possibility that powerful friendships may have faded. Not because anyone confirmed it, but because it fit an existing narrative. A narrative suggesting Harry and Meghan are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain the same level of influence they once enjoyed. Whether that narrative is accurate remains open to debate. But its popularity reveals a great deal about current public perceptions. So have Harry and Meghan genuinely been rejected by former celebrity allies? Or are commentators transforming normal friendship dynamics into yet another royal controversy? The answer may remain hidden behind closed doors. But the speculation shows no signs of slowing down. At its core, this story isn't really about George and Amal Clooney. It's about influence, reputation, and the ongoing struggle to define Harry and Meghan's place in a world that extends far beyond the royal family. Because in today's media environment, even silence can become a headline. And sometimes, the friendships people don't see generate the biggest stories of all. If you enjoy royal news, celebrity controversy, and deep analysis of the biggest stories involving Harry, Meghan, William, Catherine, and the royal family, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next royal headline could be even more shocking than this one.